Psalm 92, verses 7 and 9. When the wicked spring as the grass, and when all the workers of iniquity do flourish, it is that they shall be destroyed forever. For lo, thine enemies, O Lord, for thine enemies shall perish. You may be oppressed by someone who is hurting you or your family in some ways. This individual may be the enemy to you and what is best for you or what is best for your family. And being an enemy to you and coming against you, and you are one of God's children, they are coming against God himself. They have become an enemy of God because they are an enemy of his children. And we have a Heavenly Father who does defend his children. You may be wondering, how long, O Lord? How long? Many of the martyrs who were burned alive at the stake wondered, Lord, why are you not destroying your enemies? Why are you allowing me to be dragged into court? Why are you allowing me to be in this prison? They put Jeremiah down in a dungeon. He sunk down into the muck and the mire. And if people wanted to, they could just dump their dishwater down the drain. And it could shower down on Jeremiah. And if people wanted to, they could drop stones on his head. Little boys could see, ooh, there's Jeremiah. And they could throw little stones through the grate. Jeremiah was tempted to think, Lord, why are you not dealing with your enemies? But the day came when Ebed-Melech, an Ethiopian eunuch, he remembered Jeremiah, and he petitioned the king, and he said, please, can I get Jeremiah out? Jeremiah is going to starve down there. And the king said, okay, you can do that. So Ebed-Melech called down to Jeremiah and said, I'm throwing these old clothes down to you. Put them underneath your armpits. And we will pull you out. You see, Ebed-Melech didn't want for Jeremiah to have rope burns underneath his armpits. You know, old people's skin can more easily be torn or bruised than those of us who are younger. And so they hauled Jeremiah out. The Lord did deal with Zedekiah. Jeremiah said, Zedekiah, submit to the king of Babylon, and it will go well with you. And Zedekiah said, no, I will not submit to the king of Babylon. I will not. They didn't like Jeremiah because Jeremiah gave a message to them that they didn't want to hear. They didn't want to submit to the king of Babylon. They wanted to fight. And they thought that Jeremiah was a threat to the government because by saying what he was saying, he was influencing people not to have a heart to fight the Babylonians. Jeremiah said to Zedekiah, you will be carried away captive to Babylon, and your sons will be put to death with you watching. Zedekiah was carried away to Babylon. They put his sons to death before his eyes, and then they gouged Zedekiah's eyes out. Zedekiah was an enemy to the prophet of God. Zedekiah was an enemy to the God of Israel. In God's time, Zedekiah suffered. He was punished for the injustice that he put on the prophet Jeremiah. If you don't see God dealing with your enemies right now, take heart. Remember the story of Jeremiah. It took time, but in God's time, Zedekiah was punished for the injustice that he inflicted upon the innocent servant of the Lord. Please do not doubt your Heavenly Father's goodness by saying, oh, God's doing nothing. He's doing nothing to my enemies. The enemies that are hurting you will be punished. Do not take this punishment or this vengeance or this justice into your own hands. Don't do that. Don't try to plan how you yourself will bring justice, because in planning that out, you are taking God's job away from him without his permission, and you are trying to do it yourself. You will stress yourself. You will hurt yourself by trying to plan out your enemy's demise. Don't do it. Trust in your Heavenly Father that he will deal with your enemies in his time and in his way. And you trust that your Heavenly Father's justice is better than your own justice. And you trust that he is able to bring justice where you cannot bring justice. Wait on the Lord, be of good courage, and he will strengthen your heart. For all of God's people, we will see our enemies punished. But we will need to wait for our Heavenly Father and for his timing. Let's trust his heart. He knows what is best. He sees the injustice that you are facing. He sees the pain that you are going through. He knows who your enemies are. He knows what your enemies have been doing. And in his time and in his way, he will most definitely deal with your enemies. Until that time that you see your enemies being punished, until that time when you see justice being brought, trust your Heavenly Father's heart. He will not disappoint you. He will not disappoint you.